Warner Brothers is on the brink of financial collapse. I knew this will happen. I expected this for the last roughly 3 years at this point. Most people honestly kind of felt that this is going to happen. Because keep in mind, what has Warner Brothers done in the past decade, honestly, even? Movie wise, maybe 1 out of 5 movies makes a profit. That is a horrible ratio on success versus failure. Gaming wise, they have Hogwarts Legacy, and that's literally it. And Hogwarts Legacy, a game that was on Steam, so Steam takes 30% of the cut right there. It was a Harry Potter's licensing deal from mommy J.K. Rowling, which means she probably takes her 20-30% also. So even though it was massive and sold roughly like 20 to 30 million copies, they still didn't really make a super huge pile of money. And everything else that they have done gaming wise is a complete disaster. So this was a reckoning coming.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Warner Brothers Discovery has just been downgraded to junk status by S&P Global Ratings from $1 billion franchises to $200 million disasters.
Okay. This probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but that is their financial situation in the stock market. And that's a big deal. That is actually one of the biggest deals that they can happen to a company. You getting downgraded and pushed out of S&P 500? Oof. That is real bad. That is nasty.
The once mighty media empire is now drowning in debt. And we're not talking about a light amount of debt. We're talking about over $30 billion in debt. That is with a B. They have multiple failed.
To be honest, I mean, Disney's, well, what? 80 billion in debt at this point? This is why we're always laughing about Disney's state as well. What is a 1 million disaster, but 1 billion disaster honestly going to change for Disney at this point? They're still constantly in debt. The thing is about what's the difference between Disney, why they can be multiple times in debt more than Warner Brothers and still kind of, live relatively freely, is because, well, Disney is effectively half of Hollywood at this point. So the US government is literally never gonna allow them to go under. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, that's kind of questionable. That's kind of real questionable how much the American government actually cares about keeping Warner Bros alive.
Launches and executive decisions that make you wonder who the hell is steering this ship anymore. In today's video, we're going to be diving into the complete collapse of Warner Brothers Discovery, from Suicide Squad and Multiverses flopping unbelievably hard to studios closing down like Monolith, who were in charge of the Wonder Woman game that never saw the light of day, to being over $30 billion in debt. But we're also going to go a little bit bigger. What's really killing the gaming industry and entertainment industry as a whole? How did activism, corporate bloat, and empty promises get us here? Let's find out. So special shout out to all of you 88,600 legends out there that are currently subscribed to this channel, and the 50% of you that are not currently subscribed. Consider hitting that subscribe button today. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's start with the big one, right? Let's start with the recent revelation that the S&P Global Ratings have officially downgraded Warner Brothers Discovery to a BB+, also known as junk status. The reason? Well, it's a combination of weak credit metrics and their inability to revive their television and streaming businesses. But this isn't just a slap on the wrist. A junk rating signals to investors don't trust them. It's a black mark on their financial record, making it more expensive and more difficult to now borrow money.
No. It's not even more expensive to borrow money, okay? People who are lending money to Warner Bros. Know that they can't repay. We talked about this a little bit before. I can't remember if we talked about it on Disney, but Warner Bros. Is kind of the same thing. Because I think the US government still kind of wants to keep them afloat. So, if they're going to say, yeah, hello, Trump, we're kind of shutting down, Trump's going to be like, oh, he print that billion, okay? That's probably what's going to happen. Warner Bros. Is effectively a little bit more light than Disney when it comes to this. People who give Disney money know that Disney is never repaying that debt. because the percent of debt is going to just increase. They're giving it and knowing that Disney will never actually pay it fully back, but it's like free money. After a while, because of the cumulative percentile, it's just going to be free money printing. And every company that gives Disney, for example, these debts knows that that's going to happen. And Warner Bros is pretty much in the same category. The real problem here is investors. Warner Bros is going to have trouble actually getting like real capital because they have no because their stock is going to just plummet now. It's at some point really hot because there's just no trust. Everyone will know that the buying Warner stock is just okay. It's going to go down. There's probably already a massive short on Warner Bros just because of this.
And with billions of dollars in debt, that's a nightmare scenario. I feel like it's unbelievable that this company is truly above $30 billion in debt, and yet at the end of 2024, Warner Brothers Discovery stands at a jaw-dropping $39.5 billion in debt. Yes, we are talking almost $40 billion in debt with a B. That is unbelievable. That is more than the GDP of some small countries. And yet this isn't news either. Ever since the Warner Media and Discovery merger, they've been trying to cut costs, trim the fat, and restructure. But none of it is working. Why? Because their biggest products are failing, and they're failing hard. They have made multiple different
True.
decisions to try to invest in products that ultimately just didn't hit home. And some of them they've even had to cancel before they even saw the light of day. We just recently saw the cancellation of the Wonder Woman video game that was in talks for many years. And
God. Well, a modern day Wonder Woman video would be literally woke trash, as we all can probably imagine. But a Wonder Woman video game that's actually good would potentially sell better than a Batman game. Because keep in mind, Batman's a spandex wearing pansy that just creates child soldiers, lets them die, and never kills any bad guys, okay? Batman's track squad is actually killing more good guys than bad guys because, reasons. But Wonder Woman, bruh, Wonder Woman don't give a F, okay? She's gonna tear out your spine and use that spine to kill other people. Wonder Woman don't care. Wonder Woman is actually pretty brutal, okay? We could get a PG 19 plus super mega gory Wonder Woman game where she literally just Thanos snaps spines through your chest cavity that didn't exist 3 seconds ago. Okay? A Wonder Woman game could be so absolutely jaw-dropping, amazingly brutal. It would be prime, okay? Fighting gods, breaking Superman's flimsy, weak woman-like arms. Wonder Woman could absolutely... A Wonder Woman game made properly, with blood, would be so insanely amazing.
Monolith got shut down afterwards following the announcement that the game was never going to see the light of day. Why? Well, if you actually look at Monolith and you look at some of the people who were working on this video game, you're going to realize very quickly that from the inside out, it's very clear why this game was in development hell. The people that were working on this video game didn't exactly seem the most qualified, which is actually shocking considering that Monolith was in charge of one of the best games that ever released, which was the Fear franchise. But let's also be real. The people who made the Fear franchise no longer work at Monolith anyway. So the Monolith of today is not the one that made the Fear franchise of yesterday. And yet, unfortunately, they were the ones who were going to be in charge of the Wonder Woman franchise, and it just never saw the light of day. At the end, again, of 2024, we are talking about an almost $40 billion in debt. What contributed to that? Well, let's talk about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the game that was supposed to be a tentpole for Warner Brothers games, but instead, it bombed, and it bombed big time. The game reportedly lost over $200 million, despite massive marketing, a DC license, and Rocksteady's name behind it. It couldn't save this live service disaster. Fans didn't want a Destiny clone with comic skins. They wanted a real story-driven superhero game. The backlash was so severe that the player numbers plummeted within the first month immediately. And it wasn't even just because of the backlashes at all. Quite frankly, the game was broken. The servers were destroyed. They had to reset the leaderboards multiple times. Competitive nature...
Oh god, not only was this game bad when it came out, and gameplay-wise, but then it was also really broken. Like, the bugs, some missions didn't work. Random reward loot just rerolled for some reason. Things didn't save. You didn't get rewards for submissions. Some things were just flat out like most of the game was broken. Okay, it was real bad.
within the game had completely died off. And again, even with patches and updates, it couldn't be saved. Suicide Squad didn't just kill the Justice League, it almost killed Rocksteady's credibility completely. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind when it comes to Warner Brothers, the one thing that is so frustrating about this company, and I've said this in many videos, is that this company was in charge of making one of the biggest game releases of the year that it came out. Hogwarts Legacy was a massive financial hit. The game was a huge success. It was a billion-dollar franchise. Even into the next year after its initial release year, it was still one of the top 10 selling games of that year. It's insane to even think about how much money they
True.
made from Hogwarts Legacy, but the simple fact is all the money
Again, as much I said, less than your typical success, but still a lot. But again, what does a 1 billion success honestly matter when you're down 30 plus bill? Sadly, not a lot, especially considering you know that the next three products you release are gonna be dead in the water.
money is gone. Everything is gone. The money that they profited from Hogwarts Legacy was lost by multiple failures that just completely destroyed every bit of money that they made from Hogwarts Legacy. It is a massive fumbling of the bag that we haven't seen in ages. And then there's the multiverses, which again, multiverses is a video game that I remember trying out and immediately getting turned off by. It just felt like a really cheap version of Smash Brothers, which I'm sure they were going for the Smash Brothers feel because let's be real.
So I covered multiverses and it was pretty funny. This game wasn't actually that bad as a fighting game. Yeah, it was pretty okay. People mostly said, but the problem was it's like okay, if you're not gonna dish out money, congratulations, you're now playing Shaggy for three weeks straight until you can unlock your next character. Have fun. Also, the art, the everything before before the closed beta ended, the first round of playtime that people got with this game, the art was better. The character design even was better in some situations. And after the second round opened, and it's like they previously had actual artists, and now they just had like some kind of cheap unpaid intern do it, and for some reason the intern's work got kept. It was really bad.
Real, it basically was Smash Brothers with Warner Brothers characters, but again, it was their attempt at competing with Smash Brothers. It had a strong start, but quickly fizzled out due to lack of content, poor balancing, and aggressive monetization. It was pulled offline, supposedly for improvements, and when it finally relaunched in 2024, it flopped again. Another $100 million down the drain. And to make things even worse, Player First Games, the studio behind it, is now gone, just like Monolith Studios. Remember the Wonder
The fact that Shaggy in this game at least gets Ultra Instinct is kind of funny.
Woman game, again, that was announced with so much hype? Yeah. Canceled, along with 3 whole studios: Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Brothers Games San Diego. Every single one of them got shut down. Warner
Good.
Brothers claims they're focusing only on major IPs like Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, but at what cost? The creative risk-taking, the variety, it's all being drained away. To
There's like some kind of Game of Thrones game now out. I don't know if it's good or not.
be quite fair too, even
I'm assuming probably not really worth it, but there is a Game of Thrones game out, and it's not a mobile thing, surprisingly.
though they say they're focusing on Harry Potter, they just recently announced that they're canceling the definitive edition of Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy. So that entire notion doesn't really seem very truthful. And on top of that too, they also took a
Dumb.
major flop with the Quidditch game, because the Quidditch game only exists because they took
Oh, I remember the Quidditch game. It had a peak player count of 3K or something like that. Complete disaster. Again, I like there's literally not a single person in this world who's saying, "Oh yeah, I think a Quidditch game is going to be successful." No one has ever said that. Even Harry Potter fans don't want the Quidditch game.
Quidditch out of Hogwarts Legacy. If they would have left it inside of Hogwarts Legacy, perhaps they would have even more sales for that game. But quite frankly, everybody can see very easily that they took it out of the initial game and tried to resell it to you as a separate game, and nobody really fell for it, and that game is now dead. So this isn't just a Warner Brothers issue though. Keep in mind, the entire entertainment industry is bleeding right now. Games are more expensive than ever to not only make, but also in sales. And executives are chasing trends instead of just being creative or trying to come up with some good ideas. Live service models are failing left and right. Budgets are ballooning while actual gameplay, innovation, and storytelling take a back seat. Add in layoffs, canceled projects, and studio closures. It's an absolute storm out there. I just recently reacted to an indie showcase that I ended up wishlisting about anywhere from 8 to 10 video games from that particular showcase because they were so creative. I thought they looked so fun. And unfortunately, you don't really get that too much in the AAA industry anymore. A lot of the creativity is basically staying within indie or with AA. That's basically it. But let's address the elephant in the room, which is activism and ideology. Too many studios are focusing on social media messaging and representation checkboxes instead of actual gameplay of fun and quality. It's a distraction, and gamers notice. You can't sell a mediocre game with a political coat of paint and expect it to carry a billion-dollar franchise. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't really matter how much, status you have with previous games. A lot of these games that have previous games are absolutely flopping when their new reiterations are just political garbage. I'm looking at
The hell is this? I have never seen this. This looks old. I have no idea what this is.
Dragon Age of Elgar. So what is Warner Brothers Discovery doing right now about it? Well, they really can't do much when you really think about it. Their plan is to lean harder into reliable IPs, or at least that's what they say, and that means more Hogwarts Legacy, more Mortal Kombat, and more HBO Max content built around safe franchises. And also, by the way, why the hell did you rename HBO Max back to HBO Max when you changed it to Max and everybody told you that was a bad idea? It's so
Oh yeah, this thing happened. I forgot.
Stupid. This is exactly what we're talking about. Decisions that are made by idiots that don't think it fully through, and they end up backtracking later on after they spent all this money rebranding their brand to Max, which was really dumb, and now they got to spend all this money rebranding back to HBO Max, which they should have just stayed at in the first place. It's so stupid. But again, it's a smart move in the short term to try to focus on your main IPs, but in the long term, it kind of risks being stagnated, right? How long can you milk the same?
I don't know about that, honestly. You can there's no problem in taking an IP and evolving it. There's no problem with this. This is one of the things that I didn't like about people saying about Suicide Kill the Justice Squad when it released. It was a shit show, yes, we know. But one of the things I didn't like that people said about it was the fact, but you made Gotham games. You should have made a Gotham game. We don't want this. We want Gotham games from your studio. You see, it's like, do you want the same thing over and over and over again, or do you want something new? Yeah, Suicide Squad was bad, but they tried something new theoretically. And everyone's pissed and everyone's demanding the same old, same old. Okay? I think there's a time when it's good to take new risks, pushing a franchise forward when you start to see that it is getting stale, switching things up a lot, not just a bit. If you switch things up a bit, you get, Assassin's Creed Shadows at the end of the day. But a little bit, sure, go for it.
Same franchises before eventually the entire well runs dry. So can Warner Brothers turn this around? I guess, but it's really going to take some radical changes. They need better leadership. That is number one. Their leadership and their management is terrible. You can clearly see in their projects and what they're selling you and what they're showing you, it's pretty obvious it is heavily mismanaged. Not only that, the bloat is through the roof, and that's just not a Warner Brothers issue. Warner Brothers and the entirety of the entertainment industry could use with a culling of about 30% easily, because they are so bloated it's ridiculous. And then a renewed focus on fun would be a really good start. Try to get creative again. Try to offer compelling content, not just ways that you can milk people for DLCs. Don't go for little TikTok trends. Don't try to be, all about
Hey, I'll take a DLC of a good game any day.
About political brownie points? No, go back to fun content. The gaming side needs to ditch the live service obsession. And again, this is not just a Warner Brothers problem. This is a problem that is all throughout the gaming industry. Sony is trying to live and die by the live service model. They have such an obsession with live service video games, it makes you wonder.
Every big company has obsession over live service models. I have talked about this many times, but again, non-live service models make graph go like this. That is really bad if you're a publicly traded company, which single one of these is. Line needs to go up like this. You know, it's not exactly straight, but it's actually kind of tilting slightly up, but you can't even see it. That's what matters. That's what always matters.
Can they even make a decent single player
And again, the reason live services are so good for it because they're predictable. Live service models are the most predictable thing ever.
game anymore, but try to bring back that single player experience? Take the risk, right? I feel like Hogwarts Legacy should have shown you that people are dying for really good single player experiences, especially in franchises that are untapped. Hogwarts Legacy was one of them. Harry Potter as a single player game, heavily untapped. Aside from the Lego series, you should definitely go back into single player experiences. Stop this live service nonsense. Take the risk. I guarantee you, let the creative teams lead, not accountants. On the entertainment side, they need to stop chasing whatever the hell Netflix did last year and start investing in timeless stories. Originality still matters today more than ever. But Warner Brothers Discovery is in a tailspin, and they're not alone. Disney, Ubisoft, Netflix are all facing similar storms. But as fans and gamers and as viewers, we need to demand better. Not louder, not more diverse, just better. Don't settle.
I mean, better means less diverse usually, let's be completely real here. Anyway, that was Hypnotic.